Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today on today's episode of What Cause Inspires You. I'm here today with Nandanaa Shrikant, who is a current junior at Presentation High School in the Bay Area. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Hi, I'm Nandana, and as Sahana already mentioned, I'm a junior from the Bay Area, and I advocate and perform community service for various causes, including literacy and mental health advocacy. And other than that, I enjoy spending time with my family and friends, traveling, and learning new languages. I have been learning Spanish since I was 3. I've learned Brazilian Portuguese for about 3 years now, and last year I started learning Catalan.
That's fascinating. We can tell that you really love languages. So, what exactly does education mean to you?
I believe that education is a universal human right, and education helps students not only develop their academic skills, but also inspires their values and their interests. Education instills moral and social values. It challenges us to think critically, and it helps us better understand our role in society. An essential part of education is literacy, and literacy is in every aspect of education and in life. Unfortunately, there is a disparity in literacy, which is called the literacy gap. And this disparity is based usually on socioeconomic status and other external factors, such as limited access to resources. And every profession requires some form of literacy, so addressing and acting upon the literacy gap would be a huge equalizer.
Yeah, I completely agree with you about how education is so important for everyone to have, and it is a universal right. So you mentioned the literacy gap. Can you share more information about it, like any specific statistics? Because I know you mentioned disparity, but how big truly is this disparity?
Well, a lot of people don't understand that the literacy gap does exist in the United States itself. Like they usually think it's a third world country problem. And although it does exist there, it definitely has taken prevalence in the United States. Actually, California is one of the states with the biggest literacy gap within their students. And within communities of people of color, it affects them even more, which then can negatively impact them later in life. And the literacy gap has always been prevalent everywhere. And even now, there's not enough funding for schools to act on it. And it's just not a matter of importance because people don't know about it much. And the first step to even addressing the literacy gap would be to advocate for it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. If people don't hear about a cause, how will they ever know it exists?
That's true.
What other issues does this literacy gap affect?
Although, once again, a lot of people don't see the correlation, the literacy gap actually goes hand in hand with another big issue, which is gentrification and redlining. So, redlining is the practice of denying certain people homeowners' rights and medical rights and even education rights and things like that. And even as in our society, about 10 years ago, Congress did pass a law that essentially redlined some schools where they were removing educational resources from students who were already in a low socioeconomic status. And the literacy gap goes hand in hand with that because many of the people who redlining negatively affects, they are affected by literacy gap. And if the literacy gap was tried to be removed, such as giving more resources to these people, maybe redlining wouldn't affect them so much because they had more resources and more knowledge to try to avoid that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I admire all that you've mentioned that you've done, and you're clearly very knowledgeable about this topic. But why are you passionate specifically about the literacy gap?
Well, literacy has always been important to me from a young age. When I was in preschool and when I was in pre-kindergarten, I didn't really know much of English. I only knew about 3 words in English. But thanks to my parents and my teachers, I was able to pick up on English pretty quickly. And by the time I went to kindergarten, I was fluent in it. And I'm completely sure that without all the amazing people who supported me and were patient with me, I definitely would not have reached this level of English that quickly. And I know the same issue pertains for many people within the US and within my own community. And unfortunately, they might not always have the same support system that I was so lucky to have. And I just wanted to be that person for other people who were struggling with because I could really relate to them and I feel like I could really make an impact in their lives.
That's really admirable. In fact, I couldn't speak English until I was 5, not just because of any literacy, but just because I couldn't speak it, which is I really understand where you're coming from, that it's important for people to be not only be able to articulate their thoughts, but also put them down to writing for everyone to understand where they're coming from. So, what have you done for the literacy movement?
I have always tried to advocate for literacy throughout elementary school and middle school, but the big thing that really was the catalyst for my literacy movement was in the summer of ninth grade when I started volunteering with the nonprofit organization called Aspire Education. They have a program called Community Reading Buddies. It's based in Oakland, but it's virtual. So in community reading buddies, there are youth mentors who get paired with buddies who are elementary students from the Oakland area who are falling behind the grade level standards of literacy. And we use a platform called BookNook, which accurately binds their level of reading and appropriately assigns different books with different skills, such as if some people have trouble with irregularly spelled words and how to like pronounce them and read them, then they would assign books with a lot of those words so they could better practice that. And when I joined Community Reading Buddies, it was like a spark instantly connected because I loved it since my first day there. And it was amazing to see how I could connect with my buddy and how much I could help her in just 6 to 8 weeks. And that was truly meaningful for me. And then when Reading Buddies announced their spring program the following year, I instantly signed up. And then I signed up as a lead mentor too. And there, as a lead mentor, you are still a youth mentor, but you sort of are the bridge between admin and the youth mentors. So you talk to the youth mentors, get their thoughts on a couple things, relay back to admin, and then facilitate discussion about what works about this program. Would you like to see any changes? What's the most difficult part? Dealing with buddies and all of those things. And right now, I am in the spring session of Community Reading Buddies for this year. I was also in the summer of 2022 and the fall of 2022. So this is my fourth Community Reading Buddies session, I want to say, or fifth. But it's been one of the best experiences I've ever had, and it's really allowed me to further my journey in literacy and get more real life experiences.
That's really wonderful how you've been involved with it at such a young age. But how is that possible for you to involve even in middle school? Because I know so many kids who feel like they don't have any opportunities when they're in middle school and they have to wait until they're so much older to make an impact. But you were able to do that at such a young age, which I feel like could be helpful for so many people.
Yeah, I feel like if you know where to look in your community, there are still people who are struggling with English. They may not want to make it obvious, but you can kind of get that. And if you have the opportunity to help them, it makes so much difference in their lives and also our lives too, because you really get the feeling of, wait, my work can actually help positively impact another person's lives and even my peers. And also community reading buddies, that program specifically, it has applications open from seventh grade itself. And I'm pretty sure in other places there are similar programs like that, which allows people to get involved at such a young age.
That's really great. But how can others also get involved? Because I know you really got involved through your school, but for people who don't have those same opportunities within their school, are there any other ways for them to get involved and help out with this movement?
Mhm. Well, community reading buddies isn't a part of the school, it's an outside program. So in California, this exists, but I'm sure in like other states that there are similar programs to CRB, which provides literacy support and would definitely love some youth mentors. And another big thing for me within literacy was this program called Students in Action. I think it exists in the rest of the United States as well, but in SIA, it's not completely literacy based, but if that's what cause inspires you, then you can definitely make it about literacy. So my students in action group, we all decided that the literacy gap was an issue important to us. That's what we decided to focus on. So we had three ways to address it. One would be direct service, where we all signed up as youth mentors for CRB. The second one was indirect, where other people in my group set up a fundraising page and a readathon to get more donations for Aspire so they can get more books and things. And then there was also an advocacy part, which I was the head of. So as I said before, advocacy is the most important first step. So my group and we decided stats are definitely important and they can definitely make a large impact because some people just don't realize what this is going on. So we decided to make a card.co website, which compiled not only statistics from the state, the nation, and globally, but I also interviewed other educators in the area to get their takes on the literacy gap and what they think would be the most beneficial steps forward. And that was an amazing experience for me, the whole Students in Action experience. So if your school has Students in Action or there's another organization that's promoting Students in Action, I highly recommend it because you can definitely pursue your cause and get like a better understanding of it, in my case, which happened to be literacy.
That's really great. And is there anything else you would like to say to anyone listening to this?
Just my main message is that the literacy gap does exist, and even though it's not obvious, it has a huge impact in so many people's lives, and that if you're able to give support in any way to these people, even if it's just helping them for a few weeks or giving them your support regularly, it truly makes a difference. Because when I was talking to some of these educators, actually, they said that as these students who are falling behind the standard get older, they realize that they're at a disadvantage, and that really affects their confidence level and mental health. And sometimes they feel like it's their fault that they're doing something wrong, which is completely not the case. So even if you can just encourage them a little bit, it would really go a long way.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I know I'll always remember what you said, and I hope anyone listening to will be inspired to aim to achieve the same impact that you've had. Thank you so much.
Thank you.